Lots of movies in which politicians are always portrayed. So, and always the media and politics are always related. So, what you have to talk.
Really propitious that you're asking me this question on the day that my new film Vishal Bhardwaj's Matru Ki Bijli Ka Mandola has been released. And although it is a black comedy, the underlying theme is really about corrupt politician and her ways. And I play the corrupt politician. Because she says one thing and she does the other. Early 50s, etc., it was always the zamindar, the landlord, who was the villain. Because the landlord was believed to employ unfair means to keep the poor, because it was largely a feudal society. As it started moving, then we saw at one point, particularly in the 70s, the smuggler became the villain, because smuggling had really taken root in our society. Now it has become the politician. And that is because you do see the resonance of that. You see a general disenchantment with politicians. And I think that filmmakers portray politicians according to the story that they want. Not all politicians are shown as corrupt, but some are. And we have to answer this question: does cinema imitate art? That it would help. Because I do believe cinema's ability to create a climate of sensitivity in which it is possible for change to occur. So if there were, because cinema is not like a painting where all you need to spend is money for the canvas and for your brush and paints. It requires a lot of money to make a film. So even if you don't want to make it like a real profit-making enterprise, what you would require is at least the amount of investment that you made, that should come back to you. So filmmakers choose what they subjects. We go along with what the audience thinks. But I do think oftentimes filmmakers are out of step with what the audience is ready for. So I know that I haven't answered your question, but that's the dilemma of the filmmaker. Because I do think that if audiences who ask this question of filmmakers all the time, if they would actually put their money where their mouth is and actually go and watch films that are trying to say something serious and meaningful, then producers would be encouraged to make such films.
Today's scenario, we are seeing very less numbers of young politicians. So, to encourage them, what you will advise or what message you will give to them?
Firstly, I don't consider myself a guru, and I don't sit there giving advice to people. What I would like to say is I have a lot of faith in the youth of this country. 50% of the population is under the age of 50. That's a huge force. All over the world, change has been heralded at the hands of the young. Whether it was in Vietnam, whether it was in Tiananmen Square or Tahrir Square, even back in our country, even in the 1942 Quit India movement, it was the youth that was standing at the front of change. What is very necessary is to encourage youth to participate, to believe in themselves, to believe that they have been inculcated with the right values, so that when they come into the field of politics, their way of thinking will be different. And I think it's important for the youth to stand up and be counted, because the country depends on them. Although I do think that the fact that they are not as involved as they should be is really our failure, not theirs. We have failed to provide the kind of leadership that inspires the young to come forward. And so the onus lies on us. But it's also for the young to know, to recognize their own power and to see that they can actually make a difference and stand and say no. What has happened recently in the Delhi gang raid? It's the young who absolutely would not let out and said, we want accountability and we want answers, and so the country had to sit up and take notice. That's the kind of power that you have. But I would caution the young and tell them that what is really required, of course, is a free democratic society, but within that, gender sensitization and accepting girls as equal to boys is easier said than done, because we have inherited a patriarchal mindset in which the boy naturally feels privileged just because he happens to be a boy. And if you look within our own families, even in families that say no, we treat our boys and girls equally, that's not actually true. The boy is privileged above the girl. So when he goes into marriage, then he thinks that he deserves the same kind of special attention, and he doesn't have an equal relationship with his wife, and then he steps out into society, and whether he becomes a police officer or a lawyer or a judge or a politician, it is that same mindset with which he operates. And that's why you see how badly women are treated in our society. And so gender sensitization, I think, must begin at home, and youth, young people, must practice.